Tire knows the real meanings, and we'll keep your car safe without all the jargon. Carol Works Tire. Tires, service, and tire values you can count on. Find us online at c-wtire.com or talk to a real human at 937-461-5441.
Feeling stressed or overwhelmed? Not sure how to get the mental health help you need? We've got your back. Call the Mental Health Insurance Assistance Office at 855-438-6442. We'll help you figure out what mental health benefits may be in your health plan. No more confusion, just the support you deserve. Call the Mental Health Insurance Assistance Office at 855-438-6442.
Some people reach a line and stop. Some hit a wall and turn around. Then there are the ones who cross the line, climb the wall, face obstacles, and turn them to their advantage. That's where we come in. We're the next rodeo. We design bold marketing that drives real growth. A creative partner for businesses ready to push forward beyond what's expected. The Next Rodeo. Learn more at thenextrodeo.com.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-976-5907 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-976-5907. That's 800-976-5907. What do you have to lose? Call 800-976-5907. Again, 800-976-5907.
Oh, my house needs some help. It needs a new roof, new windows, and siding if I can afford it. I just don't know who to call. Your house is updated and looks so nice. Who does your work?
Buckeye Home Services does all my work. Their prices are affordable and they do a great job. Call 586-6600 for a free estimate. Buckeye does roofing, siding, gutters, leaf guards, windows, doors, patio covers, even kitchens and baths.
Sounds like they're the ones to call. What's that number again?
Buckeye Home Services, 586-6600.
If you need new roofing, siding or gutters, skylights or patio enclosures, if you're a homeowner or business and need someone you can trust, don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. See Lance Roofing and Siding at their new location at 6903 Dayton Springfield Road in Enid. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722. Online at lanceroofing.com.
For all of your tree needs, you've got to call Tackett Tree Service. Headquartered in Dayton and family owned since 1949, Tackett Tree Service delivers professional quality tree services to residential and commercial customers, including tree removal, pruning, trimming, stump grinding services. Plus, they have firewood and mulch for sale and even specialize in tree health care too. Call Tackett 7 days a week, 7 to 7, and emergency service 24/7. Call 937-630-2743 or see Tackett'sTreeService.com.
Harry Douglas here to help you get in on the sweet life with Cotton Candy 5-Hour Energy. It's that classic throwback cotton candy flavor, but with zero sugar and a 5-hour energy boost. I keep these with me so I can tackle that sweet tooth with a tasty caffeine kick and no guilty sugary aftermath. Bring on the sweetness with Cotton Candy 5-Hour Energy Shots. Cotton Candy 5-Hour Energy. Available online at 5hourenergy.com or Amazon.
Describing the delicious flavor of Lee's new famous wrap is tough, but we figured we'd give it a shot.
Imagine crispy, golden, fried to perfection chicken, drizzled with bold, peppery, beautifully balanced famous sauce, resting on a plush bed of succulent lettuce and sprinkled with cheese. It's like ordering delicious with a side of exquisite.
In other words, it's awesome. The famous wrap with new famous sauce. Only at Lee's. Famous for a reason.
Rev up Father's Day with gearhead gifts from summitracing.com or give a Summit Racing gift card. Plus, enroll in the rewards program to get more power in every purchase.
A is for ABS, B is for BCM, C is for CVT, D is for, don't worry, we're not going to quiz you, because at Carroll Works Tire, we know the auto industry is full of acronyms. Liability expertise. Carroll Works Tire, keeping Dayton rolling from A to Z. Find us online at c-wtire.com or talk to a real human at 937-461-5441.
Hey everybody, it's Stephen A. Smith, and everyone knows my feelings on Cowboys fans. But really, Justin Kenner, you're a Cowboys fan and a Browns fan? Good Lord have mercy. I don't know what the hell to do with y'all. I really don't.
Exactly, Stephen A. He's been here for 10 years, and we're still trying to figure him out. The Justin Kenner Show, weekdays at 3 p.m., right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, everybody, we welcome you in live. We are back. It's the Justin Kenner Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. And, a lot of NFL news today. My Cleveland Browns, I still think, about to throw this helmet in the trash. And there's a lot of things the Browns have done to make me want to throw this helmet away. But I'm pretty close after today. The Cleveland Browns, Myles Garrett, getting a divorce. Myles Garrett, Cleveland Browns, no longer married. Myles Garrett taking his talents to Los Angeles. He's traded to the Rams. How about that? The news of the day that shocked everybody, that has everybody talking. How about this? The full trade terms, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter. Now, again, you had Andrew Berry come out a little bit ago and say, hey, that they are closing in on a deal, that they are close. They have the framework in place. They're just dotting some I's and crossing some T's, of course. But the Rams receive Myles Garrett. The Cleveland Browns receive, again, Jared Verse, born in Dayton, by the way, who's a Pro Bowl edge rusher, of course, a 2027 first-round pick and a 2028 second, along with a third-round pick for 2029. Now, I don't know if this is the official final trade terms. It says full trade terms according to ESPN's Adam Schefter. But again, it was like less than an hour ago where you had Andrew Berry come out at one of their golf outings and say, hey, that yes, that they are in the midst of talks and that they are finalizing the framework of a deal. Sounds like this is that framework. We'll see what ultimately happens. But yes, it's been rumored for a while that the Browns could potentially move on from Myles Garrett. Hell, the guy requested a trade not even a year ago, before Cleveland would give him a franchise record, not a franchise record, an NFL record, when he got, that big time extension. And at the time, that's really kind of what put the Bengals in the tough spot with Trey Hendrickson, where that number for pass rushers just kept going up and up and up as far as that goes. But nonetheless, Myles Garrett is a Cleveland Brown no more. Now, I don't know what to make of this because there's a couple different ways to look at it. The Browns are basically all first and second, outside of some veteran players on the offensive line, and I guess Deshaun Watson, you have a second-year quarterback fighting and positioning for the starting quarterback role. You're basically outside of court. When you look at your wide receivers, you take two receivers in the first two rounds of this draft, and they're going to be, in Boston and Concepcion, they're going to be starting. You know what I mean? So you obviously have second-year tight end. And the tight end that you get, of course, from Bowling Green. So, they have a lot of first, second-year guys. You look at the running back room, second-year guys. It's a youth movement on the offensive side of the ball with a lot of veterans on the defensive side of the ball, although they got some really good defensive players last year. Of course, Carson Schweiziger led the team in tackles last year at linebacker. They went heavy in defense again in this draft outside of wide receiver on the offensive side of the ball. And they added some pass rushers in the offseason as well. But by going to get, there's a couple different ways to look at it. You could have moved on from Myles Garrett and just loaded up on picks, which you technically did. You got a 2027 first rounder, a 2028 second rounder, and then a third round pick for 2029. Now, not all of those picks are all in the same year. It's like a pick a year spread out over the next 3 years. But it's one of those where, okay, you could have just loaded up on more picks. Instead of saying, hey, we want Jared Verse, we want more picks. We want 2 first rounders. All right, we want more second rounders. We want more picks. And again, just continued on the youth movement. I do find it interesting. Or the Browns killed it with this move because you knew Myles Garrett didn't make sense for what they were trying to do right now, and you still got one of the best pass rushers in football in Jared Verse, who's 26 years old. He's going to be due for an extension at the end of this year, so you're going to still be paying a pass rusher big-time heavy dollars, except now after this year, you'll be paying someone who's in their mid-20s as opposed to a contract that will be winding up in 33, 34 years old. I'm never going to say that Cleveland moving on from Myles Garrett is a good thing. It is not, but it did seem like it was trending in that direction. He demanded the trade last year. They demanded the trade last year, and instead of Cleveland, getting on board with that, they went ahead and got the extension done. Maybe that made it more difficult. I actually think by getting that extension done, it was probably smarter. Maybe that was Cleveland's goal from the beginning is, hey, let's get an extension done. See what we could do with him for one more year. And by having him on the books for many, many years still after, he has more value. You're sending a guy to the Rams that's already under contract for the next couple of years. So maybe there was that aspect to it. I don't know what to make of this. I like this trade. I just don't like losing Myles Garrett. Nobody should like losing Myles Garrett. I think it's one of those where I got to wait to see who the Browns end up selecting with these picks. That's the other thing. A lot of people like to say, oh, the Browns did a very good job with this. I think preemptively, this is a very good move. If you're going to lose Myles Garrett and the Browns were, you're going to have Myles Garrett back. He's going to be disgruntled. He's not going to be happy. All right, fine. You're going to lose him. You got to get something for him. And the Browns got something for him. I think the fact that you got Jared Verse and a 2027 first round pick. So you basically get something to help you for the next 3 years. You get a Jared Verse for this upcoming 2026 season. Okay. You're going to get a second round pick in 27, a third round pick in 28. A first round pick in 27, a second round pick in 28, and a third round pick in 29. So you're getting something for the next 3-4 years for this Myles Garrett deal. Some I see they find it to be a little underwhelming with the return. Some think it's a great return. I'm kind of in the middle. I think it's a little underwhelming of a return, but also to get Jared Verse and a first rounder, I think is pretty strong. The fact that you're getting a defensive player in return that is one of the best defensive players in all of football. I mean, last year alone, Jared Verse, again, 2024 AP Defensive Rookie of the Year. He had 99 pressures since entering the league in 2024 only Micah Parsons and Myles Garrett have more over that span. So since he was drafted by the Rams back in 2024, where he won the AP Defensive Rookie of the Year award, he had 99 pressures since 2024. Only Micah Parsons and Myles Garrett have had more pressures in the league. I'd say, yeah, that's a pretty good return as far as that's concerned. He turns 26 this November. He'll be eligible for a contract extension after this upcoming season, and the Browns will most likely get a deal done with him as far as that's concerned. But yes, if you're just joining us, the Justin Kenner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio, full reaction to the Browns finally moving on from Myles Garrett and getting a haul in return. Some people don't think it's a haul. I think it's a pretty strong haul because you could have got all draft picks, drafted a pass rusher, and hope that you get a pass rusher. Jared Verse is not Myles Garrett, but you get someone that you know is an all-pro player. I think this is a solid deal. I don't know what it means for the Browns. I actually think this deal is better for a lot of – I don't think it hurts the Browns, but I think it really helps a lot of teams around the Browns. It helps Joe Burrow and the Bengals. It helps Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. It helps 85-year-old Aaron Rodgers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I actually think it helps Cleveland. It's just weird saying that because I don't think it's a good thing to lose Myles Garrett. But if you had to lose Myles Garrett, I guess this return is pretty solid. 937-518-1410. The text line is open. The phone lines are open. Browns fans, football fans in general, thoughts on this Browns-Rams deal. Did the Browns, if this is the finalized deal, and I'm on air, so I don't know if this has come out and said, okay, it's final. This is exactly what Cleveland's getting. Do you like the return that Cleveland got? Did the Browns get enough in return for Myles Garrett? 937-518-1410. It's the Justin Kenner Show right here on 1410 ESPN Radio.
$5,000 sign-on bonus. That's right. My friends at Cordell Transportation are now hiring experienced Class A CDL drivers with excellent work history. If that's you, apply now. Cordell Transportation offers home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freight, and brand new equipment, plus a $5,000 sign-on bonus paid over 18 months, paid orientation, and company 401k with company match. Apply online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Drivers who switch to Progressive could save hundreds just by bundling home and auto insurance, because you can't go wrong saving money. Unless you spend it on a guitar, never learn to play it, but lie and say that you did. Then someone hands you a guitar at a party and asks you to play, so you decide to improvise this.
Well, don't you know that dream, but that's not it. Dreams are fun and also good.
Yep, you can't go wrong bundling and saving money with Progressive. Well, it depends on how you spend it. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and third-party insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
This is the story of the one who keeps multiple buildings running smoothly day after day. Plumbing that flows, HVAC that hums, cleaning supplies that keep surfaces sparkling. That's why she counts on Grainger. With easy reordering online and 24/7 support, Grainger helps her keep the products she needs on hand. So shelves stay stocked and buildings stay ready. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
1410 Wing AM, Dayton's ESPN Radio, powered by.
I love this song. I love nachos.
Loving everything? You might be buzzed.
You know what I'd love? A ride when it's time to head out.
If you see a buzz warning sign, call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Do you have an old sports program, baseball, photo, ticket, or game-used equipment just collecting dust? Sports Investments wants to buy your sports memorabilia. They're also interested in old sports cards and also buying political, aviation, and entertainment items. Bring your collectibles to Sports Investments and get a fair value on the spot. If you decide to sell, they'll pay you immediately. Sports Investments is the largest buyer of memorabilia and cards in the area since 1993. Sports Investments also feature the best selection of autographed memorabilia, sports cards, and other collectible items for sale, including all your favorites like Tiger Woods, LeBron James, Joey Votto, the Bengals, the Browns, the Big Red Machine, UC, XU, UK, NKU, UD, Louisville, Notre Dame, and Ohio State, just to name a few. You'll enjoy the experience of dealing with the Walter family. Call them at 513-891-5000. Email Adam at sportsinvestments.com or visit them on Montgomery Road, right off I-275, just 40 minutes from WING.
Star City Concrete is the Miami Valley's most trusted concrete company, offering unparalleled services as a local family-owned business celebrating 20 years. We offer residential and commercial driveways, patios, walkways, steps, barn floors, slabs, foundations, and much more. Star City Concrete takes pride in delivering exceptional quality in every project. Our professional team understands that needs are unique, so we offer personalized solutions that stand the test of time. Contact us today for a quote at StarCityConcrete.com. You'll be glad you did.
Now, back to the Justin Kinner Show, right here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 Wing AM.
All right, everybody, we are back. It's the Justin Kinner Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM, 937-518-1410. All reaction to the Cleveland Browns moving on from Myles Garrett. Did confirm during the break, it is official. Ian Rappaport saying now agreed to and official. It is official. It's not just a deal that was being discussed and finalized. It is official. The Cleveland Browns are trading Defensive Player of the Year Myles Garrett to the Rams for star edge rusher Jared Verse, a 2027 first-round pick, a 2028 second-round pick, and a 2029 third, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter and Tom Pelissero. So that is officially final. I know that there has been a lot of, multiple reports out there talking about, some had it confirmed, or at least the skeleton, of the deal is done, but now it's final. So there you go. So like I said, I'm in between on this. I don't for people out there waiting for a soundbite. Kinner's going to say this is a good deal no matter what. No, there's not enough out there to justify moving on from Myles Garrett. You move on from Myles Garrett, not just the defensive player of the year, but the best defensive player in the NFL, the most dominant player in the NFL since Aaron Donald, and was dominant during Aaron Donald's tenure in the NFL as well. The bottom line is it's not a good thing to move on from Myles Garrett. So, no, I'm not going to say that it's a good thing, but considering the circumstances of moving on from Myles Garrett, considering what you got in return for him, you're not going to get anything that's going to completely replace his value in production. But considering what they got, I actually really like it because the Browns could have gotten, and I've been back and forth on this, but the Browns could have gotten just a slew of picks and hoped that they could replace Myles Garrett with another Myles Garrett with one of those picks. Or you can get another all-pro pass rusher along with a slew of picks, and that's what the Browns did. To get Jared Verse in return, and we talked about this earlier, he was drafted in 2000. He was a 2024 Defensive Rookie of the Year. He has 99 pressures in the NFL since arriving in the NFL, since he was drafted in 2024 Rookie of the Year. Only two other players have more pressures in the NFL than he does, Micah Parsons and Myles Garrett. I would say this guy has a lot of makeup of some of the best pass rushers in the National Football League. I like the move. If the Browns are going to make a move, I like this move. You get a first-round pick, which you technically got 2 second-rounders because my thing is the Rams are now the favorite to win the Super Bowl. They had arguably the best roster in the NFL before this deal, and now you just added Myles Garrett to put them over the top. They went out and got McDuffie to start. They gave up a lot of draft picks to go get McDuffie to start the offseason, and now they cap off the offseason with a ton of draft picks that they gave up to go get Myles Garrett. The Rams are going all in. They're in a win-now mode. Okay, they're in a win-now mode right now, trying to take advantage of the last couple of years of Matthew Stafford's deal. That's why drafting the quarterback from Alabama, Ty Simpson, still has a lot of people scratching their heads. I mean, the Rams might as well have traded this year's first-round pick. And maybe they were going to. Maybe they didn't have a plan for that first-round pick. It sounds like for months now, the Rams have been trying to urge the Browns to move on from Myles Garrett for months now, and they finally were able to. I don't think Jared Verse was originally part of the plan. Because I've told you before, Cleveland's always confused me a bit. They draft as if they're a team that's rebuilding, but they operate in free agency as if they're a team that's trying to win now. And it's really hard. You know what I mean? Like Myles Garrett, we're going to make you the highest paid non-quarterback in the history of the NFL, and we're going to go get more pass rushers, and we're going to spend money on free agents, but then we're going to keep drafting rookies at very key positions, at quarterback, at wide receiver, at tight end, at running back. You know what I mean? Like at linebacker, I get it. You have to draft somebody, right? But you could, if you're going to sign free agents, sign some of those key positions that they were drafting at. That's not what was going on. So I'm like, and I'm fine with that. But the Browns always seem to be confused. I do think there's an identity crisis in Cleveland. Are you a rebuilding team or a team that's trying to win now? Because if you are a rebuilding team while making moves that are trying to help you win now, you almost win games and it hurts you. Like for instance, Cleveland, and we talked about this with our draft conversation to close out the week last week. Cleveland should have been celebrated for beating Pittsburgh and Cincinnati to close out the regular season. You close out the regular season on a high note. You beat your division rivals, so the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cincinnati Bengals. The only thing that they did was screw themselves because had they lost to Pittsburgh and Cincinnati, Cleveland would have had the number 1 overall pick. So it's like you're good enough to win some games, and that's almost to a detriment. So are the Browns a rebuilding team or are they a win-now team? This move kind of checks off both again. Everything they do, 1 second they make you feel like they're trying to win now. Another second they make you feel like they're rebuilding. I don't know who the Browns are. Jared Verse, that's a hell of a get. Only 2 other players have more pressures than Jared Verse in the NFL since he arrived in the NFL, and Micah Parsons and Myles Garrett. He's a legit dude. He's a Pro Bowler. He's everything. He's going to get a big-time extension at the end of this upcoming season, and he's going to be a Brown for a while. That's a win-now move. Moving on from Myles Garrett is a rebuilding move, but you got Jared Verse in return. That's a win-now move. But you also got a lot of draft picks for the future. That's a rebuilding move. I don't know who the hell the Browns are. You know what I mean? Like you draft Shedeur Sanders and Dylan Gabriel, rebuilding moves. But all we're hearing is that you're going to continue to keep Deshaun Watson as your starting quarterback. That's now don't laugh, a win now move. I know you got. I'm not saying that that's necessarily you're going to win because of that. But that's we want to go with our veteran quarterback because we feel better about a veteran quarterback putting us in position to win games more than a second-year quarterback. That's a win now move. So I just don't know who the Browns are. 1 minute, they're making a move that makes you feel like it's all about a rebuild, but even within the rebuilding move, there's a win now element to it. I'm not saying I'm against it, but we'll see what ultimately happens. I think Cleveland is better than last year. I don't know how to calculate the loss of Myles Garrett. I know it's a major loss. I like what you get back in Verse. You get additional draft picks for the future. But the Browns defensive line, even without Myles Garrett, is still really, really good. And you got another really good pass rusher right now in Verse. So Cleveland's pass rush is still going to be very good. Schweisinger in year 2 led the team in tackles last year. He's going to be really, really good. The Browns always have one of the better secondaries. Secondary is going to be very, very good. You know, they beefed up that offensive line. It's way better than what it was last year. Judkins is going to be healthy and ready to go by camp, according to multiple reports. The wide receiver room, significantly better than a year ago. The quarterback room, the problem, same as it was a year ago, might even be worse because they're going to try and roll out Deshaun Watson. I don't know. Ryan Strong, we're live on the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page. Ryan Strong says it's a hell of a trade for Cleveland. I think so too. I think the natural thing to do with Cleveland is always to bury anything that they do and say it's a bad move. I think that Andrew Berry has crushed back-to-back drafts. I think that he has done very well in the free agent market, and I think he did very well with this move. I don't like trading Myles Garrett. I don't. But I don't think it was I don't think this is a Dallas Mavericks Luka situation that everyone is shocked by it, that they shouldn't have done it. I think this was the right move to make. Right move to make. When one of your most expensive player is a guy like Myles Garrett that really, this team is not going to win a Super Bowl this year. Fringe playoff team is your ceiling. I mean, it makes sense to try to get some more additional assets back in return, especially when you head into next year's draft. I think that the Cleveland Browns are telling you, we're giving Deshaun another final shot. And then if and when that doesn't work, we're going to go to Shador and we're going to give him one more final shot. And if and when that doesn't work, we're going to have Verse. We're going to have a solid defensive line, great secondary. We're going to love our linebackers. Our offensive line's beefed up. It'll be year 3 for our running backs, year 2 for our wide receivers. Now we're going to go get Arch Manning or trade for a veteran quarterback out there. We'll see what ultimately happens. But I think Cleveland's trying to put themselves in a position where they're a quarterback away. And is that quarterback on this roster now, or is it a future quarterback that's playing in college right now? Who knows? And with Cleveland, I think that's a legit question. Who knows? Nonetheless, Tommy Pennington, what up, Tommy? Tommy says, I think Verse is good. I think he's better than good. He's just not Myles Garrett. And I think that's going to be the thing. If you're comparing him to Myles Garrett, it's not going to be a great, you're not going to feel all warm and fuzzy inside. But I think to go from that to him, I think the Browns are lucky to get someone like that either way. I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio, 937-518-1410. Thumbs up, thumbs down, how we feel about the Browns' return for Myles Garrett. There had been reports and speculation for weeks and months. The Browns restructured the contract, which a lot of teams do that when you're about to offload somebody come June 1st. And guess what? It's not a shock or a surprise that here today on June 1st that the Browns decided to move on from Myles Garrett. So there you go. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler put out a few notes on SportsCenter a little bit ago, saying that the Browns' desire for a young ascending pass rusher shrunk the candidate pool, that there were a lot of teams who really wanted Myles Garrett, but because they wanted hey, we'll give you Myles Garrett, but we need a dominant up-and-coming pass rusher in return. There wasn't a lot of teams out there that fit that mold. Per a team source, this was a Rams-specific deal because the Rams hounded Cleveland for a while. Jeremy Fowler says, Myles Garrett did not request a trade similar to last offseason. The team made the deal because due to the trade value. He does not, Jeremy Fowler, when asked about does he sense that this is the start to an upcoming fire sale? Could you see Denzel Ward? Could you see other big names on the Browns defense? Could you see the Browns, start to move on from them? He does not sense that this is a fire sale, was told a hard no on Denzel Ward's availability, for example. But once again, you move on from Myles Garrett to get a slew of picks. To me, that screams rebuild. When asked about Denzel Ward, who's a great shutdown corner, but also injury prone, the Browns say, hard no. That's a win now move. No, we need Denzel Ward. You need him for what? To win now. But don't you need Myles Garrett to win now? No, we needed picks for the future. That's a rebuilding move. Again, who the hell are the Browns? Lean into it one way or another. You may piss off your fan base, but you're also going to piss off your fan base with another 6 or 7 win season, and you're just running in place. I don't know. I need to know who the Browns are. And I can't get a good feel for that. Nonetheless, Ron Howard says teams have to change their game plan against Garrett. versus not so much. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what teams are going to look like going up against Cleveland. It's going to be strange watching a Cleveland defense without Myles Garrett week in and week out. I still think Cleveland has a top defense. I don't think it's, top 5 anymore. I think it's still a top 10 defense. And if you can complement it with a strong run game and above average offense, I think this Cleveland team could be pretty good. But I'm not going to go out there and say that this team's going to make the playoffs and contend for the division and be a threat when you just moved on from the best defensive player that the league has seen since Aaron Donald. Either way. 937-518-1410. This was a huge move for the Cleveland Browns and the Rams, no doubt. But there were a lot of other winners with this move, including your Cincinnati Bengals. We'll talk about that when we come back.
Describing the delicious flavor of Lee's new famous wrap is tough, but we figured we'd give it a shot.
Imagine crispy, golden, fried to perfection chicken, drizzled with bold, peppery, beautifully balanced famous sauce, resting on a plush bed of succulent lettuce and sprinkled with cheese. It's like ordering delicious with a side of exquisite.
In other words, it's awesome. The famous wrap with new famous sauce. Only at Lee's. Famous for a reason.
You know what you can trust? The protection you get when you bundle home and auto insurance with Progressive. You know what you can't trust? Everything else, apparently. Like when you saw that article that said that thing you eat every day is a superfood and great for your gut health. But then 30 seconds later, a different article warns you to avoid it and it's taking years off your life. Well, which is it? Kind of a big difference there. Anyway, bundle home and auto insurance with Progressive for reliable coverage in a reliably unreliable world. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers. Not available in all states or situations.
Kubota keeps the job site running smoothly with the #1 selling compact excavator lineup in the world. Reliable, capable, and backed by strong dealer support. Stop by today to power up your crew. Right now, bring home select Kubota excavators with 0% financing available or save up to $7,000. Now through June 30th. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com/disclaimer for full disclaimer.
Stop by Columbus Equipment Company in Columbus, Dayton, or Toledo to see our full line of Kubota construction equipment. Or check us out online at columbusequipment.com.
Discover wants everyone to feel special. That's why they double all the cash back you've earned on your credit card at the end of your first year with Cashback Match. See terms at discover.com/creditcard.
Feeling stressed or overwhelmed? Not sure how to get the mental health help you need? We've got your back. Call the Mental Health Insurance Assistance Office at 855-438-6442. We'll help you figure out what mental health benefits may be in your health plan. No more confusion, just the support you deserve. Call the Mental Health Insurance Assistance Office at 855-438-6442.
Raise your hand if you're excited about feeling older faster than you should. No takers? Yeah, didn't think so. Ongoing pain makes you feel older than you are. But here's the good news. QC Kinetic patients here in Dayton are getting relief, feeling younger, jumping back into life full speed, and it didn't happen in an operating room. The QC Kinetic medical professionals use the latest regenerative treatments backed by real science, treatments that take the tiny, powerful healing tools inside your body, concentrate them right where you need relief. That's how Mike is training for a marathon instead of giving up running. Patrick's golf game is on fire again. Kathy walked around Disney with her grandkids. No pain. All real QC Kinetic patients. The sooner you start treatment, the sooner inflammation eases and the sooner joint damage slows down. Because no one signs up for feeling older faster. Find out if you're a candidate for QC Kinetic regenerative treatments. Your visit and consultation is free. 937-936-0325. That's 937-936-0325.
Save big money in your projects when you shop at Menards. Pittsburgh's Ultra True Seal is a stain and sealant in one that offers enhanced waterproofing protection in one coat to help you finish your wood care projects faster. It's easy to apply with no streaks, runs, or lap marks to deliver flawless results. Save big money on Ultra True Seal stain at Menards and get your staining project started today. Plus, view our weekly flyer on menards.com.
Save big money at Menards.
For adults with Crohn's disease or ulcerative colitis symptoms, every choice matters. Tremfya offers self-injection or intravenous infusion from the start. Tremfya is administered as injections under the skin or infusions through a vein every 4 weeks followed by injections under the skin every 4 or 8 weeks. If your doctor decides that you can self-inject Tremfya, proper training is required. Tremfya is a prescription medicine used to treat adults with moderately to severely active Crohn's disease and adults with moderately to severely active ulcerative colitis. Serious allergic reactions, increased risk of infections or lower ability to fight them, and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or need a vaccine. Explore what's possible. Ask your doctor about Tremfya today. Call 1-800-526-7736 to learn more or visit tremfyaradio.com.
Now, back to the Justin Kinner Show, right here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 Wing AM.
Myles Garrett, a Brown no more, now traded to the Los Angeles Rams. It's officially official. The Rams had one of the best rosters in the NFL already. And then you go and add someone like Myles Garrett on top of it. I mean, the Rams favorites to represent the NFC in next year's Super Bowl. Not a surprise there. And it's interesting because, the Cincinnati Bengals, the last time the Rams were in the Super Bowl, they beat the Bengals. And the Bengals have slowly declined since then. But this is the best roster that the Bengals have had since that showdown with the Rams in the Super Bowl many years ago. So could potentially see a rematch between those two, the Rams and the Bengals, next February. And it'll be interesting because, you think Joe Burrow's seen the last of Myles Garrett. Well, maybe not, because Myles Garrett still might be a name and a player that kind of haunts him if the Bengals truly do have the season that is expected, and if the Rams have the season that everybody expects, because Myles Garrett has been a thorn in the side of, yes, the Cincinnati Bengals, but more specifically, Joe Burrow has definitely been a pain in his whatever you want to call it, because Myles Garrett has not had, all the success that he has had more success against the Bengals than any other team in the National Football League. In fact, in 14 games, Myles Garrett has played in 14 games against the Cincinnati Bengals. He has 16 sacks in those 14 games, which is the most against any opponent. He also has 32 QB hits in those 14 games, which is the most against any opponent as well. And it reminds me, years ago when I first started, Jerome Bettis, he jumped on the show with me when I first started, and it was Bengals-Steelers week. And I kept calling, I was like, oh, it's big rivalry. It's rivalry week, Bengals-Steelers. And he said, Justin, I got to correct you there. It's not rivalry. He goes, he gets it. Jerome Bettis said, hey, listen, the Bengals may view the Steelers as a rival, but he promised me, and especially through his career, they never once viewed the Bengals as a rival to them. They didn't circle the Bengals and say it's Bengals week. So he thought it was cute that in Cincinnati they call it Steelers week. But he did say, Jerome Bettis told me that he's a huge Bengals fan, and he credits the Bengals for a lot of his Hall of Fame career because Jerome Bettis had the most touchdowns and the most rushing yards against Cincinnati than any other team in the National Football League, and that's kind of what this reminds me of. Jerome Bettis was going to be a Hall of Fame player with or without the Bengals. Myles Garrett was going to be a Hall of Famer with or without the Bengals, but they will look back at Cincinnati when their careers are done. Jerome Bettis' career is already done, but Myles Garrett will look back at his career and say, man, he loved playing against Cincinnati. So Myles Garrett's probably saying, I hope we run into Cincinnati in the Super Bowl if that ends up being the case. But yeah, Myles Garrett, 16 sacks against Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals in 14 games. Not all of those against Joe Burrow, by the way, because Joe Burrow hurt a lot. And obviously Myles Garrett in the league slightly longer. But the bottom line is dominated the Cincinnati Bengals, which is a huge win for Cincinnati when it comes, in that regard. Now, this is the thing, I was thinking about earlier, like, you want to talk about a perfect offseason. The Bengals had the perfect offseason. They extended key pieces and contributors to their offensive line to allow Joe Burrow to line up under center behind the same offensive line for the second straight year for the first time in his Bengals tenure. This has been the perfect offseason for Joe Burrow and the Bengals. There's no contract speculations out there. There's no concerns. You knew they were going to move on from Trey Hendrickson, and they did that. See ya, Trey. But then they go and get Dexter Lawrence. All right, and they made key additions in the offseason. They were aggressive. They killed it in free agency. Cincinnati adding a safety, adding multiple key weapons to that defensive line, going and get Jonathan Allen, a former All-Pro rusher. all right, to go up front, with Miles Murphy. And they go get Boy Mafe again, another key contributing piece, of course, from Super Bowl champion, obviously Seattle Seahawks. And then, like I said, the Dexter Lawrence deal, phenomenal. They get more depth in the draft. They literally checked off it's a perfect offseason. It's a perfect storm brewing in Cincinnati. And really, when you think about it, this could be, everything is setting up so perfect that it could almost be detrimental to Cincinnati, because what Joe Burrow has had more than any other QB in the NFL, and I'm not trolling here, do not get mad, he has had every excuse imaginable to justify his shortcomings. The front office, no defense, the dominant pass rushers in the AFC North. You know what I mean? Like the 10 times better run organizations in the AFC North than Cincinnati. The stacked AFC. All of these things have always gone against Joe Burrow. The offensive line, run game, all of it. You have Chase Brown. You have solid pieces on that offensive line. That's not a great offensive line by any means. It's the best offensive line he's had since being here. You know what I mean? You have the easiest schedule in the National Football League. Mike Tomlin is no longer the coach of the Steelers. Harbaugh is no longer the coach of the Ravens. Myles Garrett is no longer on the Cleveland Browns. Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, no distractions there on will they be here in the future. They're here. They're not going anywhere. Like, all this perfect offseason that is lined up for the Cincinnati Bengals, it could almost be detrimental to the reputation and how the Bengals and Joe Burrow are perceived. Because for the longest time, I've always said Joe Burrow, for being the most unprotected quarterback on the field, I think that he has always been the most protected quarterback off the field because of all the things that we just discussed. Well, now Patrick Mahomes injured to start a season. The Chiefs have regressed. They're not the Chiefs that they've been throughout Patrick Mahomes' dynasty career to start. Josh Allen's roster, the Josh Allen and the Bills, very, very solid roster, but they're not unbeatable, not by a long shot. Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, Lamar Jackson showed a little bit of signs of regression last year, and now you're without Harbaugh. Myles Garrett's no longer in Cleveland, and he was the Joe Burrow killer. You know what I mean? Like, Pittsburgh no longer has Mike Tomlin leading the way. Pittsburgh will still be solid, but they're not going to be feared like they were during the Mike Tomlin era. The AFC is not as strong as what it once was. The New England Patriots are strong, but I don't think that they're untouchable. And the Bengals just had their best offseason in the Joe Burrow era. Everyone's healthy. Everyone's extended and signed. All the people that were demanding trades are no longer a distraction. So the only thing left for Joe Burrow and the Bengals now is to win. No more excuses. No more, the O-line's bad. No more, historically bad defense. No more, you play in a division with Mike Tomlin and Harbaugh. Oh, man, Cleveland's not good, but they have the Bengals number, Myles Garrett. No more Myles Garrett. Patrick Mahomes injured and hurt to start the season. Now, he could be ready to go by the time they meet late in the season, obviously, but no more excuses. This is set. It's all in how you want to look at it. This could all be really, really good for Joe Burrow and the Bengals, and it seems like it, but I think it could be really, really bad because every one of you have compartmentalized the Bengals' shortcomings over the years to blame a front office who doesn't do anything in the offseason. They did more than something this offseason. They crushed it this offseason. Even a hater like me had to compliment how good of an offseason the Bengals, had. When you had Moffitt, you had Dexter Lawrence, you had Jonathan Allen. You look in the back, when you go get Brian Cook and you add him and his experience there. And you're counting on the linebackers, which has been a detriment to them for a while, but they didn't make any key moves at linebacker, but they're hoping that another year coming along again for the young linebackers will be play a pivotal role there. The bottom line is everything that can go right has gone right for the Bengals. From contracts to health, to retention, to free agency, to the scheduling, to the tearing down of coaches and eras in Cincinnati, or in Pittsburgh and in Baltimore. Myles Garrett no longer in Cleveland. I know I'm repeating myself, but it's fascinating to me at the end of the day. where Cincinnati has just gone year after year after year of excuse after excuse after excuse, and there's just no more excuses. There's just no more excuses, and that could be either a really, really good thing or a really, really bad thing, and we're going to find out, this upcoming season, and that's what's going to make this June and July and August just so agonizing. I mean, my goodness, it's June 1st. You got all of June, all of July, all of August, and 2 weeks of September, 3.5 months. I saw today, 100 days until the NFL season kicks off. I don't know why the NFL did that. They try to make it sound like only 100 days. That's a lot of days. That's 3.5 months. We got to get through all of June, all of July, all of August, and 2 weeks into September. When is the Hall of Fame game, by the way? That always, Kev, always, every year we make this joke about the Hall of Fame game. And I always like the Hall of Fame. So August 6th. So still, June, July, and August, you still have 3 months. I love the Hall of Fame game because it's the first NFL game that you see on the screen, and there's still a gap between the Hall of Fame game and week 1. More than a gap. I mean, Thursday, August 6th is the Hall of Fame game. September 13th is really when week 1 officially kicks off. Technically, that's the Sunday, but the Bengals will kick off that day, the Browns, so on and so on. But man, Blake, what up? Blake texts into the show. He goes, "You're right. It makes me excited but nervous. Like I feel like something is going to go wrong." LOL. When it comes to the Cincinnati Bengals, as far as that's concerned. No, I mean, I'm not hating. I'm not stirring the pot. I'm just saying, like it's almost. I mean, what has not gone well? What is something that has not gone well for the Bengals this offseason? I mean, they loaded up the defense. The AFC North has taken major steps back. Hall of Fame coaches, Hall of Fame players no longer in the division. You have the easiest schedule in the National Football League. I mean, what else can go right for Cincinnati? What has gone wrong? I don't think anything has gone wrong for a team that always seems to be snake bitten. I'm not a Duke Tobin guy. I can't stand Duke Tobin, but got to give Duke Tobin credit. I thought he had a great offseason. Paul Blanton. Paul, hope you're well, buddy. Paul says, yeah, the Bengals look good on paper, but they are all unproven as Bengals players. They have yet to put it all together on the field. And that's where it gets interesting. Because I'm curious about that, when the Bengals, are the Bengals best when their backs are against the wall? Do the Bengals need to get out to a 2-4 start for them to start playing against themselves? You know what I mean? Are the Bengals wired to where they're not good as the fact that they are favored in 15 of their 17 games this year? That's the other thing, too. They're favored in 15 of their. Is that a good thing? I feel like the Bengals in recent years, I mean, even their run to the Super Bowl, that was year 2 of Joe Burrow, year 1 of Jamar Chase. You were the scrappy underdog. You hadn't won a playoff game in decades. You finally won that game, and then you won another one. Joe Burrow gets sacked 9 times and beats the number 1 seed Titans on the road. You're down. You look ugly in the first half and then come back for a historic comeback against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. It's like, why does Cincinnati, I feel like Cincinnati during the Joe Burrow era, even when he's healthy, their backs have to be against the wall before you get the best of them. You know what I mean? I feel like their backs have to be against the wall before you get the best of them. That may not be the case this year. They just have to come out and be good. If they come out, you know what I mean? It's like they have to get out to that 2-4 start before it's like, oh crap, we've shot ourselves in the foot. We've lost a couple division games already. We're coming from behind. Our backs are against the wall. We're just scrapping to get a wild card spot. We're going to make the playoffs. There's a lot, I guess that second year coming off the Super Bowl, they got off to a really bad start that year. But again, it's like they had to get off to a slow start so that they could play against themselves, play against their own adversity. I don't know. I find them fascinating this season, the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm very eager to see what they do because they have no more excuses. The O-line's not elite, but it's good. They have Chase Brown in the backfield. He's good. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, there's no contract disputes. There's no holdouts. There's no drama. Right? Defense. Love what they did on the defense. The AFC North, taking a step back. No more Myles Garrett. No more Mike Tomlin. No more Harbaugh. I just think the fact that the front office was super aggressive, uncharacteristically aggressive. No more excuses for the Bengals this upcoming season. Paul weighs in. The offseason is the offseason. They are not known to capitalize on opportunity. Paul, I agree with you. Me and you, Paul's a big Bengals fan. I'm not. You would think Paul and I would butt heads. We used to. But we usually agree on a lot of stuff. He's very realistic about Cincinnati. I agree on them not capitalizing on opportunity, but I don't know what opportunities have the Bengals really had in recent years. The Steelers have always been very dominant defensively. That has not bode well for Cincinnati, who's very weak up front. Baltimore is known for their physical, aggressive defensive style. That doesn't bode well for Cincinnati up front. Cleveland has been the Browns is the Browns, but they've always had Myles Garrett in that physical defense, which does not bode well for Cincinnati. All of those things have taken a major step back. And I don't want to hear about J.J. Watt or T.J. Watt. I'm sorry. I don't want to hear about T.J. Watt. It's more like T.J. Watt. Like I'm not afraid of T.J. Watt anymore. I don't care about T.J. Watt. He's been T.J. Butt. His attitude stinks. I don't care about T.J. Butt whatsoever as far as the Steelers go. No more excuses for the Bengals. Nonetheless, Ron Howard said, but the Bengals, he's saying that he's not impressed with their offseason because they passed on Reuben Bain Jr. I love Reuben Bain Jr. And Cincinnati Bengals would have been very happy to draft him at number 10, Ron. And I get what you're doing. You have Reuben Bain Jr. on your team, and I'm here to tell you right now, Reuben Bain Jr. can win Rookie of the Year this year, and I still will not fault the Bengals for moving on from the number 10 pick. They had to get a dog up front on that defensive line, and they did. And I think that Reuben Bain Jr. would do really good things for the Cincinnati Bengals. But I don't think he would have as much of an impact on the Bengals as what Dexter Lawrence is going to have, because it totally changes the Bengals' defensive identity. They're going to be able to stop the run now. You're going to hope that Myles Murphy and other guys with another year development are going to be able to get to the quarterback. So, Ron, I get what you're doing. Enjoy your Reuben Bain Jr. I like Reuben Bain Jr. In fact, that's one reason why the Bengals fans were skeptical to move on for the number 10 pick, because of a player like him. But you got Dexter Lawrence. They're going to be just fine. 937-518-1410. Mr. Bob Love, you are on live, sir. How are you? It's been a while.
Yeah, it is. How you doing, man? You doing good, Justin?
Absolutely. Another day in paradise.
Good. Hey, my expectations are very simple. I think you summed it up very well. To me, it's Super Bowl or bust. And that's not, just saying because, I'm a Bengals fan. I don't want to sound like a Cowboy fan. Hey, we're going to win the Super Bowl every year. Because I don't say that. But I'm saying with the additions that they had, the aggressiveness, finally, of the front office, Joe's got everything that he's asked for and more. There's no excuses. Now, the schedule thing, I don't always buy the schedule. You know I am about that schedule. That stuff changes. Who thought Seattle would have been what they were? I didn't. But, from year to year, that can change. But to me, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. There are no excuses. All excuses are off the table. I don't even like to hear the Bengal fans that are texting you or whatever the case might be and saying, well, but this, no, ain't no yell but nothing. There's no yell but nothing. I don't want to hear none of that crap. There's no excuses from Zach, from Joe, from nobody. Other than maybe a devastating injury, which you can never count that stuff.
Yeah.
But bottom line, there's no excuses. There are zero. Fitting in, well, this has to fit in. Yeah, you have to fit in. Yeah, whatever, man, whatever. This is professional football. That's why you're practicing before the season starts. How about we fit in now? Slow starts. I don't want to hear that. That's trash. That's trash. To me, it ain't playoff or bust. It's Super Bowl or bust. You got everything that you've asked for. And at least to Joe's credit, even he said that in a low-key way. Winning the Super Bowl. He pretty much said that.
Yeah, win a lot. He said win a lot of games, win the Super Bowl. Like it's that quote from last. Yeah.
And I hold you to that, Joe. I hold you to that. So quit playing flag football. You walk around. You walk outside and you sprain your ankle. So quit playing flag football. I don't hear none of that crap either, man. Get them ankles and them toes strong. No excuses. To me, there's no excuses.
Yep, get that esophagus taped up. Get all the inside organs taped up. We don't have no time for these organ failures, my guy. We got to get it's football games.
Zero. And you know what, man? I've had a great sports year. That's why I've been a little low key. My favorite college football team is the Hurricanes. We came up short, but doggone it, it's about time that we finally, have kind of got back on the map a little bit. Huh?
I said looked the part. Yeah, like
You
absolutely.
looked the part. Finally.
Yep.
Finally. And my favorite basketball team, the Knicks. Now, the matchups, this is the matchup I would want. I don't think we could beat OKC, but I do think we have a chance against the Spurs, even though they're tough. And then the Bengals, we're going to win the Super Bowl, Justin. I'm going to pick you up. I'm getting tickets. If you want some tickets, let me know now. We're heading to SoFi. Me and you, I'm going to swing around, pick you up, man.
Bob Love, Justin Kinner, Super Bowl, Bengals, Rams. I'll break out a Myles Garrett jersey, but I'm not as trollful as I was years ago. I'll dial it back. How about that?
You're getting older.
No, older. However, if the Bengals screw this up this year, buddy.
I'll be with you. No. I'll be worse than you. So if you can imagine that, I will be worse than you because I have zero excuses. I don't want to hear crap. I don't want to hear nothing from Bengal fans, from Joe, from nobody. You're going to be bad? No, you ain't going to be worse than me. I can tell you that right now. That's where I am at.
Challenge accepted, my guy. Challenge accepted.
All right, my guy. You have a good one, man.
Take care.
Good to see you, Justin.
Good hearing from you, man. Appreciate you. 937-518-1410. It's the Justin Kinner Show. Myles Garrett, no longer a Brown, traded to the Rams in exchange for Jared Verse, born in Dayton, by the way. But again, drafted in the 2024 season, or heading into the 2024 season, won 2024 Rookie of the Year. Has 99 pressures in the NFL since being drafted. Only 2 players had more pressures in the NFL than he did since being drafted, and Micah Parsons and Myles Garrett. And the Browns got him along with the 2027 first-round pick. They got a second-round pick in 2028 and a third-round pick in 2029. Some believe it wasn't enough. I think it was a solid return. Could they have got more? I think Jared Verse getting him. I think people are so caught up on the picks that I don't think people truly realize just how good Jared Verse is, but I don't think they're going to truly appreciate him because he's going to be constantly compared to the production of Myles Garrett. But an interesting day in the NFL, an interesting day in Ohio, an interesting day in the AFC North. Nonetheless, it's the Justin Kinner Show, hour number 2, coming up next.
Hey, Jen, you ready for a girls' night in?
Absolutely. What's on the agenda?
Oh, a little wine, a little JTV.
Jewelry television? I've never shopped on TV.
Are you kidding? You're missing out on amazing jewelry. Gold, pearls, lab-grown diamonds, and totally affordable. And right now, new customers get $25 off their first purchase of $50 or more when you shop on TV or at jtv.com.
25 off? Why are we standing here?
You turn on the TV. I'll grab my tablet.
Dayton's radio home for Buckeyes football. 1410 WING. Dayton's ESPN Radio.
Pump up the volume.
Business moves fast. Orders roll in, deadlines close in. When you ship with USPS Ground Advantage, you can keep up with confidence. Every package stays in our secure network from dock to door. And with nationwide reach, dependable tracking, and upfront affordable pricing, you get built-in peace of mind. You run the business. We run the routes. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to learn more.
Support comes from Amazon Business. Free your team from time-consuming procurement tasks. Discover smart business buying where unmatched selection meets AI-driven tools to simplify complex processes so you can focus on what matters most. Learn more at AmazonBusiness.com.
Giving your liver a spring cleaning is easy with Active Liver from New Nordic, the delicious daily detox that will keep you feeling your best. Search for Active Liver by New Nordic on Amazon or pick up some at your local CVS, Wegmans, or GNC.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
Today, mostly cloudy with occasional rain, mainly in the morning, high of 73. Tonight, some clouds this evening will give way to mainly clear skies overnight, low of 54 degrees. And tomorrow for your Tuesday, sunny skies with a high of 77. I'm Adam Zellick for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Hustler Mowers are here to work, known for their reliability, quality, and speed. They're as hardworking as you are, sun up to sundown. Whether you're a homeowner who takes pride in their lawn or a landscaper whose reputation rides on quality equipment that won't let you down, Hustler Turf has a wide selection of mowers ready to tackle any job. Come see us today at Small Engine Service Pros at 2030 North Dayton Lakeview Road, Route 235 in New Carlisle to shop our lineup of Hustler mowers today. Visit us online at sespros.com.
From the Montgomery County Clerk of Court's office, I'm Shannon Crabtree. Join us for Clerk Mike Foley's award-winning Connecting with the Community speaker series, connecting citizens to local leaders. Join us on Tuesday, June 16th, as newly elected Dayton Mayor Shanice Turner Sloss shares her vision to restore shine to the Gem City. That's Connecting with the Community from 6 to 7 p.m. at the Employment Opportunity Center in the Westtown Shopping Center on West 3rd Street in Dayton. Another example of how Clerk Mike Foley is bringing the courthouse to you.
Now, back to the Justin Kinner Show, right here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 Wing AM.
All right, everybody, we are back. It's the Justin Kinner Show here on a Monday. A couple shout-outs as we get the second hour underway. I appreciate Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken over in there's Lee's all over the place, of course. Lee's is one of our most loyal sponsors here at 1410 ESPN Radio, whether it's high school football, the Keith Byers Show, various local programming that we do throughout the year, of course. But they had myself and 1410 ESPN Radio out for their grand opening over in Franklin. They just opened up a new store and location over there, completely modern build concept. They built it from the ground up. If you live in the Franklin area, go and check it out. Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken, 400 Commerce Boulevard Drive. Again, go and check that out over there in Franklin. They had us out today. But yeah, appreciate them nonetheless. I also want to give another shout out to my guy, Jacob Tissett. So this morning, first word with James Rapine. James Rapine, one of the more well-known Bengals beat writers, has been on that beat for years. Actually, when he started out, he was with the Bengals over in Cincinnati doing stuff there. And then he went to Cleveland and did some sports radio there, and he's been on the beat ever since. He's released a book. I mean, James is one of the more, accomplished young guys out there that has accomplished a ton in his career, covering the Bengals, covering the Browns, in the sports media landscape. I mean, has just crushed it. And they launched a show today called First Word with James Rapine. And Jacob Tissett, who I've worked with over at Chatterbox, one of my favorite people. He's an awesome person. And to get to see him this morning debut on that show with James, it was just really cool. I know how much he loves his Bengals. He loves his Cincinnati sports. I shouldn't say his Cincinnati sports teams. I saw him talking Bearcats today. I need to give him a message for that one. But that was cool. Give them a shout, a view. Hang out with them in the morning. They're on every day from 7 a.m. to 11. All right. Good for them. Appreciate James and his work, and appreciate Jacob, man. Like, I'm glad. I know, when we parted ways at Chatterbox, I wasn't sure what was next for him. This is big time. And give Jacob Tissett a follow and watch him over on First Word with James Rapine. What up, Jacob? Appreciate you, my man. Hope you're doing well. But that was pretty cool seeing him this morning on that. And I think that's a pretty cool thing that they just launched nonetheless. So, all right. Talking about, we somehow launched, jumped on that Myles Garrett conversation, and it kind of crossed over into the Bengals path. Nonetheless, I do want to say this. We're going to get to the Reds in a moment. It's 4:06. I promise you at 4:40, we will transition over to the Reds. Maybe sooner, just depending on how these phone calls and some of these other things go. But the Reds put this out a little bit ago, as if things couldn't get any worse for the Reds when it comes to the Myles Garrett news, that Chase Burns has been scratched from his start tonight due to illness. Lyon Richardson will be tonight's starting pitcher. So there you go. I mean, things just continue they avoided the sweep yesterday against the Braves. A Geno bomb. Eugenio Suarez gets his fourth home run of the season and a 6-4 win against the Braves at Great American Ballpark to avoid the sweep. But, they had won 3 straight and followed it up by losing 3 straight. They won the series against the Mets. They lose the series against the Braves. I guess the one good thing for the Reds is they didn't lose any ground in the playoff race. I guess there's that. You know, they did. They did technically lose a game in the NL Central. They dropped back. They're now 6 games back in the Central. They are in last place, so I guess that's not a great thing. But as far as the playoff picture is concerned, the wild card, the Reds were a game out of a playoff spot on Friday, and after a horrific weekend for them, they lose 2 against the Braves and Elly. They also lose Chase Burns tonight. I don't like that. I don't like that they're without Chase Burns tonight. They needed a win tonight. Chase Burns has been unhittable. The Reds have been unbeatable with him on the mound this year, and would like to see them kind of put that Braves series behind them. Still can, but it's going to be more difficult. No Chase Burns tonight. No Elly De La Cruz. I know I said we're going to talk Reds later, but I do want to give the full update now since we have it. Terry Francona had just let updated reporters just a little bit ago. He had let everybody know that Elly De La Cruz is going to be put on the 10-day IL, but that's going to be even longer because he's going to be out for at least 2 to 4 weeks. They're going to rescan him in 2 weeks and kind of go from there. Terry Francona said Elly was kind of frustrated to be put on the IL. He did not want to man, I can't talk. It's a good thing I talk for a living. He did not want to go on the IL. But they needed to protect him from him nonetheless. So that's kind of where we're at. We'll get back into the Reds coming up in a moment, but I wanted to at least make sure we updated everyone on that. A couple big things as far as that goes. And hell, we're already on it. The Reds are calling up Arroyo as well. The Reds will get to see Arroyo in the lineup. I think that's a big deal as far as that's concerned. So we'll see what ultimately goes down with all these changes. Are the Reds going to have enough to stay in the playoff picture? Edwin Arroyo was officially called up. He's in Cincinnati. I'm assuming we'll see him in the lineup tonight. Yes, we will see him in the lineup tonight. He's going to bat 7th tonight behind Stevenson. But Dunn, Blade, Stewart, Suarez, your top 4. Lowe, Steer, Stevenson, Arroyo, and then McClain and Richardson. I'll give you more of an official lineup later on, but just to give you a quick update as far as that is concerned. So there you go. All right, back to the Myles Garrett deal. I have been all over the place with this, but I will say this. Everyone wants me to say, I bet Kenner's going to say the Browns crushed it in the Myles Garrett decision in the trade. Here's the deal. No, you don't win a Myles Garrett trade. You don't. You just hope that you could get enough in return to maybe over time justify it. And I don't know what the Browns did today. I don't know if it was right or wrong. I don't know if it was right or wrong. I really don't. I'm not going to spin it and try to tell you that it was smart of the Browns to do it. I see both sides to it. I see why moving on from him made sense. Even with him, you have not been a playoff team consistently with him. You're probably not going to be a playoff team this year with him. And trading him gives you an opportunity to continue to take a super young roster, remain young, and allow everyone to come up together. And that's what this deal did. My biggest complaint, and you guys know this from the first hour, is the Browns do a lot of stuff that I like depending on who they want to be. 1 minute, I feel like Cleveland is a rebuilding team. They draft 2 quarterbacks in last year's draft. That screams rebuilding. You draft 2 running backs in last year's draft. That screams rebuilding. You draft 2 wide receivers in this year's draft. That screams rebuilding. Right? Like that's a lot of rebuilding moves as far as that's concerned. There's a lot of rebuilding moves being made there. But then you have last year Myles Garrett demand a trade, and they trade Myles Garrett. He demands a trade, and they say, no, they're not going to trade him, and then they extend him, and they make him the highest paid non-quarterback in the history of the NFL. That's a win-now move. That's not a rebuilding move. When you are when you have, over the last 2 years, 2 quarterbacks, 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, 2 tight ends, when you've drafted 2 of every one of those key offensive positions in the draft, to me, that screams rebuild. But you won't trade, okay? They will not move on from Denzel Ward. They've already come out today and said he's untouchable. That's not a rebuilding decision. That's a win-now move, which I'm okay with. I'm not against that. You also, okay, You look at some of the deals that they made, when it comes to the defensive side of the ball, they added some key pieces in the offseason. But the thing that I found most interesting is you're not going to trade Denzel Ward, the Jared Verse deal. Now, this is where some people are saying that that's not a rebuilding move. I kind of disagree. The NFL, you could turn things around in a hurry. And I don't mean in a hurry as in, well, you could have turned it around in a hurry with Myles Garrett. Yes, you could have. But you could also try to prolong the shelf life of key positions. You're going to have really good wide receivers for years to come now, as opposed to going to get an older A.J. Brown. You just got to hope that Concepcion and Boston are legit, pass catchers for you for years to come. Same thing with Harold Fannin Jr. You hope that, Quinshon Judkins is going to be a running back that you could hand it off to for the next 6 to 8 years, along with those wide receivers. You know what I mean? Like that matters when you got key positions like that and you draft them young within the same, 1-2 year span. And now you have those positions set for the next however many years. Now you can use that draft capital or free agent dollars to go plug the holes around them, especially if you have your quarterback, which the Browns don't. But I look at Jared Verse, who the Browns now have inside. All right, you're going to have Mason Graham, who's a run stopper, who also did not get to the quarterback a lot or did not have a lot of sacks, but he had a lot of hurries. He gets to the quarterback. Jared Verse has 12 sacks in his career, but 99 hurries since being drafted in 2024. He's 2 years into the league. Only 2 players have more hurries than he does, and that's Micah Parsons and, of course, Myles Garrett. That's the company he's in. The Browns just don't have closers right now when it comes to getting to the quarterback. That's going to be something I'm kind of curious about. How is Malik Collins and Alex Wright and Isaiah McGuire, how are guys like that going to complement that? Carson Schweiziger led the team in tackles last year. Jared Verse is going to get to the quarterback. Mason Graham is going to get to the quarterback, but who's going to get to the quarterback? Who's going to bring the quarterback down? Okay, you can get to Joe Burrow, but are you going to bring him down? You could get to Lamar Jackson, but are you going to bring him down? That's going to be key when it's all said and done. So do I like this move for the Browns? I don't like moving on from Myles Garrett, but I do like Jared Verse. I'm not going to say that the Browns are bad because they have Jared Verse. I think they're going to be good because of, when they're good, it'll be good because of him. And I think it's a good situation considering the circumstances. I'm tiptoeing around this a lot because I'm having a hard time coming up with a way to say I like what they did while also telling you I hate that they moved on from Myles Garrett. So there's that. Curious people's thoughts nonetheless. I touched on this in the first hour. I want to repeat it again. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler wanted to touch base on a few things. He says that the Browns' desire for a young ascending pass rusher, Jared Verse specifically, it shrunk the candidate pool because people are calling the Browns hypocrites because they kept saying there was no way they were going to move on from him because there really wasn't a good, suitable pool of candidates that made sense for the Browns to get a trade done with. In fact, the Rams had been pressuring the Browns for months. But you go back months, even at the draft, the Rams were continuously trying to pressure. That first-round pick was going to be a part of the deal. What the Rams were hoping was the 2026 first-round pick, along with basically this entire trade package of Jared Verse, 27 first, 28 second, 29 third. It was supposed to be take Jared Verse out, and you would have got a 26 first, 27 first, 28 second, 29 third. That would have been what the Rams were really pushing. And the Browns truly wanted a young ascending pass rusher. And the Rams weren't willing to do it at the time. But finally, the Cleveland was stubborn. They stuck to their guns, and they ultimately got what they wanted. And that's why I think that they did get a nice haul in return for it. But that's what shrunk the candidate pool. The Eagles were a team that everyone thought was going to, if Myles Garrett was going to be traded, everyone thought for sure it was going to be the Eagles. The Eagles had a lot of draft capital. The Niners had some draft capital. The Bills had some draft capital. But nobody had that young ascending pass rusher that Cleveland truly wanted. And that's really what this came down to. Another team that was in the mix was the Seattle Seahawks. Mafe, who ended up, going to Cincinnati, obviously. But they were not in a position to, trade him, obviously. But that's one piece that the Browns like. That's what the Bengals have a good one there. So it's interesting seeing how all this unraveled or kind of played out. But per a team source, this was a Rams-specific deal because the Rams hounded Cleveland for a while. Myles Garrett, to be clear, did not request this trade. Last season, the Browns had no interest in trading him despite him demanding out. This was not one of the situations. that maybe the relationship was a little tarnished after last year. I think there was a lot of red flags in this. I mean, the fact that the Browns hired Todd Monken months ago and Todd Monken had yet to hear from Myles Garrett or meet him, that right there should have signaled that something wasn't right. But he did not request this trade nonetheless, according to Jeremy Fowler with the ESPN. Nonetheless, and Jeremy Fowler did clarify that this is not the start to a fire sale, which I don't know what to make of. If you move on from Myles Garrett, I kind of wish the Browns would move on from Denzel Ward. And I kind of wish they would scrub the defensive side and start over. You rebuilt the offense through the draft, assuming you get a quarterback. I wish they would do the same thing. Jared Verse is your centerpiece. Your premier young defensive pass rusher, Mason Graham, you hope continues to develop and get better. Solid rookie season. Very good rookie season. Not elite. But we'll see what ultimately happens nonetheless. But this is not the start to a fire sale. They came out and said Denzel Ward, hard no on his availability. Denzel Ward going nowhere. And I like Denzel Ward, but he's older. He is a shutdown corner, but he's injury prone. And like I said, my biggest complaint about the Browns is just the mixed messaging nonetheless. The other thing I found interesting about this move was how many people are ripping the Rams, saying, man, that they are so reckless when it comes to their draft picks. And I'm here to tell you, I've always loved the approach that the Rams have had. The Cleveland Browns are a poor man's Rams organization. Everyone rips Cleveland because they went a stretch where they didn't have first-round picks. The thing is, a lot of teams, like, what you want out of your draft picks is players that are going to come in and help you win. And some teams get so caught up in, I need to draft a player and multiple players, and they need to help me win for a long, long time. Teams don't win for a long, long time in the NFL. You're constantly resetting. And what you do is you end up drafting almost every position, and you hope all those positions pan out. And then when they don't, you draft that position again and again and again. Or you could move on from your draft picks in certain positions and go get guaranteed impact players. And that's what the Rams have done. F them draft picks has always been their motto, which is why they were able to overcome losing Aaron Donald, because they just had so many weapons in the chamber. And when it started to kind of fall apart a little bit, they were able to move on from key veteran pieces, get draft picks back, and start the process all over again. In fact, when you look at this right here, I thought this was interesting. From 2007 to 2026, they just used 2 first-round picks. Within that stretch, they went 92-57 since 2017. 92-57. That was the second best record in the NFC behind only the Eagles. And the Rams and Eagles, along with the Niners, have been the 3 most consistent teams in the NFC during that stretch. They've made it to the playoffs 7 times. They have a Super Bowl championship when they beat the Bengals, years and years ago. They had no first-round picks in 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. They drafted Jared Verse, who they just moved on from in this Myles Garrett deal. They did not have a first-round pick in 25, and they just used their first-round pick on Ty Simpson this year. So I get why people want to rip the Rams for their approach to this, but it works for them. When you have a quarterback and by the way, they have they draft really well. This is why I said Cleveland is like a poor man's Rams organization, because they do that F them picks thing a lot as well. But when they do draft, you got to hit on the draft picks. And Cleveland has just started to get into that mode where, okay, they're starting to hit on a lot of their draft picks. But nonetheless, we'll see if Cleveland starts to get ultra aggressive. If they get an Arch Manning and they like Concepcion and they like Boston, and you have Quinshon Judkins, all right, and you have Verse as your premier, one of your premier pass rushers, I could see them going this route. But the Rams have been able to do it because they've had wide receivers, they've had the quarterback, and they've had the key defensive pieces at key defensive positions. But they also just went out and got McDuffie too. They gave up a lot of draft capital to get him. And one reason that they did decide to trade, everyone questioned, why did the Rams get Ty Simpson with their first-round pick this year? It's because they know that they need to get a successor plan in place for Matthew Stafford. But they're not going to have a first-round pick next year when there's presumably going to be a lot more better quarterbacks in the draft. They're not going to have a chance to get one of them, so you might as well get a jump start with Ty Simpson this year. Right or wrong, that was the thinking when it came to this Rams decision Either way. I'm Justin Kinner. It's the Justin Kinner Show, 1410 ESPN Radio. I want to get your calls on the other side, and then we'll transition to the Reds coming up here around the corner. It's 422 here in the Miami Valley. It's the Justin Kinner Show presented by our friends over at Frickers. Frickers, your home for fun food, sports, and spirits. We'll be right back.
Proper tree care is an investment that can lead to substantial returns and increased personal enjoyment. Hiring a certified arborist can help care for your trees and prevent storm damage. Inspections by Ohio ISA certified arborists can often find and mitigate tree defects before they fail. Only professionals with specialized knowledge and training are properly equipped to provide appropriate care. To find an arborist, visit trees4ohio.org. That's trees, the number 4, ohio.org.
Kubota keeps the job site running smoothly with the #1 selling compact excavator lineup in the world. Reliable, capable, and backed by strong dealer support. Stop by today to power up your crew. Right now, bring home select Kubota excavators with 0% financing available or save up to $7,000. Now through June 30th. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com/disclaimer for full disclaimer.
Stop by Columbus Equipment Company in Columbus, Dayton, or Toledo to see our full line of Kubota construction equipment. Or check us out online at ColumbusEquipment.com.
Take the next step forward in your career with Progressive Insurance. With great benefits and an award-winning workplace. Apply at careers.progressive.com.
Feeling stressed or overwhelmed? Not sure how to get the mental health help you need? We've got your back. Call the Mental Health Insurance Assistance Office at 855-438-6442. We'll help you figure out what mental health benefits may be in your health plan. No more confusion. Just the support you deserve. Call the Mental Health Insurance Assistance Office at 855-438-6442.
Upgrade to a new quality bath remodel in less time with minimal inconvenience and for less money with Bath Creations in as little as 2 days. We do it right. There are a lot of others boasting about bath remodels these days. Well, Bath Creations' expert craftsmanship and customer service speaks for itself. Plus, all first responders, veterans, and active military will save an additional $500 off your purchase. Visit our beautiful showroom at 8741 North Kimmel Road in Clayton or at mybathcreations.com and upgrade your new bath today.
It's hard to describe the delicious flavor of Lee's new famous sauce paired with the 12-piece strip meal. We figured we'd give it a shot.
Imagine crispy, golden, fried to perfection chicken dunked in bold, peppery, beautifully balanced famous sauce. Every bite feels intentional, deeply satisfying, and impossible to forget.
In other words, it's just the best there is. The 12-piece strip meal with new famous sauce. Only at Lee's. Famous for a reason.
Meet Keith. He runs a 30-acre ranch. 8 years ago, his knees started giving out.
Climbing a ladder was almost impossible. If I could get down, I have to have something next to me to get up.
Keith's wife had a knee replacement. The recovery was hard and the results, not great. Keith wanted another way.
I won't go under the knife because I believe the body can do whatever it needs to do to heal itself.
Surgery wasn't the answer. QC Kinetics was. They're regenerative treatments. No surgery, no long recovery.
After the first one, the inflammation dropped 90%. Today, my knees are just amazing. I could not do what I've done if I had not gotten treatments to QC Kinetics. I just pray that my physical model continues to go and help other people.
Maybe that's you. Tired of dealing with the joint pain? Call QC Kinetics for your free consultation today.
Call QC Kinetics, 937-936-0325. That's 937-936-0325. 937-936-0325.
Now, back to the Justin Kinner Show, right here on ESPN Dayton, 1410 Wing AM.
We'll talk Elly De La Cruz and Reds baseball coming up here in 15 minutes. We're closing out our discussion on the Myles Garrett trade. It's a massive move. It's a massive get for the Rams. They had arguably the best defensive player in the NFL for about a decade, and then they lose, with Aaron Donald, still remained very, very good for a couple years after, and then they go and do this after getting McDuffie to start the offseason. Good for the Rams. I saw a funny tweet a little bit ago. I can't find it again. It said there's levels to the NFL. You have one team that's trading for a historically great player in Myles Garrett, and you have another team who's in a contract dispute with Jacoby Brissett. So there's layers to this stuff in the NFL, and it's funny seeing, which organizations are in what mess nonetheless. But I tell you what, so we talked about this in the first hour. Shout out to one of our listeners, Bob Love, who called in, and he was fired up about it. I said, look, I find this interesting. Like Myles Garrett he played in 14 games against the Bengals and had 16 sacks. All right. He dominated the Cincinnati Bengals during his time in Cleveland. Just dominated Cincinnati. Like I said, the 16 games that he played against the Bengals, had 14 sacks in that stretch. In 14 games, he had 16 sacks, and he had 32 QB hits. The 16 sacks against the Bengals, he had more sacks against the Bengals than any other team. He had 32 QB hits against the Bengals. That's the most against any other team. He loved playing against the Cincinnati Bengals. You could say, well, their O-line, there's multiple bad O-lines that they rolled out there that he was able to feast on. There's a lot of bad O-lines in the NFL, but there was just something about Cincinnati. He just feasted on them. And like I said, it just reminded me when I had Jerome Bettis on the show earlier on in my career, I was talking about it's Bengals-Steelers rivalry week. And he said, Justin, I got to correct you. It's not a rivalry. Cincinnati may view the Steelers as that, but the Steelers definitely don't. So he thought it was cute that we were calling it Steelers week. He goes, I promise you, if you tune into any sports radio station in Pittsburgh, nobody is saying it's Bengals week. It's just another week. He said, but he was a big fan of the Bengals though, because he's a Hall of Famer, and he would not have been a Hall of Famer if it wasn't for the numbers he put up against the Bengals. He had more rushing yards and more touchdowns against the Bengals than any other team in his NFL career. I always got a kick out of that, and that's what this reminds me of. Myles Garrett's going to be a Hall of Famer. And he's always going to be a big Bengals fan because, well, he always had the most success against the Bengals than any other team out there. And his time against Cincinnati may not be done because there's a very good possibility that these two teams could meet up in this year's Super Bowl. The Vegas odds have the Bengals as favorites in 15 of their 17 games in the regular season. And the Bengals are significantly improved from a season ago. And for years, we have said that Cincinnati is just a defense away, not an elite defense, just an average defense. And I think a bad year for Cincinnati is an average defense with this group. And we do got to, and I got to put this out there. Every opinion I have is based on who the Bengals are when healthy. All right. I'm not going to do the injury game because it's very likely Joe Burrow is going to get hurt. He always gets hurt. But if healthy, Joe Jamar T, all right, yes, it comes down to who's healthy. I'm talking about on paper and everyone healthy. This Bengals team should be favored in 15 of those 17. I got to go see who they're not favored against. I kind of forgot who they're even not favored. I think it was early on. Let me pull up their schedule real quick. I think it's the Texans, if I'm not mistaken. I think the Texans they're not favored against, but it's like 1.5 because they're on the road. And the Texans defense is solid and all that stuff. But no, Cincinnati, they can run the football. I know that some of the numbers tell you otherwise, but yes, they get production from the running back. Explosive passing game. I think it's unstoppable. When Joe Burrow, T, and Jamar are healthy, and that line up front is solidly put together, there's not really a defense out there that stops them. Doesn't slow them down. And then you have a defense that's going to put them in position to change how they approach their offense when they have a lead. They don't ever have the lead. They're always either in a tight one-possession game where they're terrified to give the ball back to the defense, so they have to be more aggressive than what they would probably like to be. I'm fascinated by this Bengals team this year. So what we were talking about earlier is this Bengals team, to me, I think with this defense, we've said, look how good this offense has been for years. How many games did they lose where Joe Burrow's thrown for 400 yards, 5 touchdowns, and they're losing? How many games has this team scored 34 or more against, and they lose? You win. You get a defense that's just somewhat productive. They're winning a significantly more amount of games. They're getting to the playoffs. And when this team gets to the playoffs, they get to at least the AFC Championship game. When Joe Burrow's in the playoffs, this team wins. He has that. It drives me nuts. But when this team gets to the playoffs, Joe Burrow, the Bengals, they pick it up a notch. 5-2 in the playoffs, Joe Burrow and Zach Taylor. Back-to-back AFC Championship game appearances, a Super Bowl appearance, and they were, of course, defensive penalty away from potentially going down and kicking a field goal to beat the Steelers or to beat the Chiefs to get to back-to-back Super Bowls if it wasn't for the Joseph Ossai, hit down the stretch on Patrick Mahomes. But I think that this team with this, and by the way, I don't think this defense is just slightly improved. You added Mafe. Mafe has, he's another one where his sack numbers aren't at the top of the league, but he gets to the quarterback a lot, like we were just talking about, of course, with the Browns' new addition. They just move on from Myles Garrett, and they go and they add a key piece to their defensive line with Jared Verse. Jared Verse has 12 sacks in 2 years, but he has 99 QB hurries. Only Myles Garrett and Micah Parsons has more than him. So, these numbers matter. Boy, Mafe is one of the league leaders when it comes to that. You added Dexter Lawrence, Jonathan Allen. So I love what the Bengals did defensively. I like that they went and got Brian Cook, a Super Bowl champion safety, brings a lot of experience to the Bengals that desperately needed it in that secondary. And they have a lot of high hopes for some of the younger pieces like Turner and Battle and others, Dax and some of those guys when it comes to the secondary. And they're putting a lot of hope in guys getting better like Demetrius Knight Jr., Barrett Carter, guys like that. I think this defense is going to be more than just slightly improved. I think at worst, they're going to be above average. And I think that's all this team is needed for. That's all we've said is Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, give them just an average defense and they'll be fine. I hate to admit that. I hate to agree with that, but it's hard to not agree with it. I don't know how you couldn't. Go look at the results over the last couple of years. Even with a horrifically bad defense, how many games was it coming down to the final possession where the defense couldn't hold on to a lead? And those were historically bad defenses, which means a slightly better defense wins those games. And less pressure is going to be put on Joe, Jamar, and T. Less pressure is going to be put on the offense. To me, that's going to put this team in a significantly better spot. So I think that with what this does, though, what I'm curious about when it comes to the Bengals, it does seem like they have to, I don't know what it is, but is this a team that needs to have their back against the wall for them to flip that switch? Do they have to start 1-3 for them to play like the best team in football a month in? Does this team have to get off to a 2-4 start before they decide that, oh yeah, we need to start playing football? You know what I mean? Like for years, that's been the case where, oh man, it's all about that slow start. But it's hard to ignore that. You take that slow start out and just look at who they are from October, November on. They're one of the best teams in football. It's an annoying quirk about this team. So I say that because how does this team respond to being favored in 15 to 17 games? How does this team respond to stepping foot out on the field, not saying, oh, crap, we got to throw our defense out there. Oh, crap, the offensive line. Oh, crap, there's Myles Garrett. Oh, crap, there's Mike Tomlin's Steelers. Oh, crap, there's Harbaugh's Ravens. Harbaugh's no longer with the Ravens. Tomlin's no longer with the Steelers. Garrett's no longer in Cleveland. The offensive line is the same O-line for the second straight season for the first time in Burrow's career. The defense, the front office was super aggressive and didn't just go make some moves. They made aggressive, big-time moves. The Bengals acted like a Super Bowl champion front office for a change. I'm not going to give them too much credit because I need to see, you can't just do the dishes once and then tell your wife, yeah, I help out around the house all the time. Like it kind of has to be a pattern before you start to be labeled as a husband who helps around the house a bit. So that's kind of how I view the Bengals. I'm not going to give them too much credit, but based on this offseason and this offseason alone, yes, I think they've done enough to put the Bengals in that Super Bowl expectation window. Because so when Bob Love called in earlier to say it's Super Bowl or bust, I thought it was kind of crazy at first, but the more I started thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, but if they get to the wild card and bail out, I still think that's a problem. I'm not going to look at Joe Burrow and say, oh, it's okay. You look how bad you've missed the playoffs for 3 straight years, and you at least got him to the wild. No. If you make the playoffs this year, if you win games this year, it's going to be because your defense is significantly better and because you're healthy and you're not running into as many dominant defensive teams and roadblocks in your own division. If we've said the last couple of years that the Bengals were just an average defensive way, and they have that average defense, and I think they're better than that average defense, I don't know how we could say anything but Super Bowl or bust for this Bengals team when it's all said and done. I'm willing to go to AFC Championship, but I think that if you get knocked out by the Chiefs, or you get knocked out by the Bills, or you get knocked out by Lamar and the Ravens, if the Bengals lose to anyone else but those three teams, I would say it's a failure of a season. So Bob Love called in, big Bengals fan. He said it was a Super Bowl or bust. I don't know if I can go there. I'm at least going to say AFC Championship or bust. And to me, you need to be, but like if you run in to like if you get knocked out by anyone other than those three, Lamar, Mahomes, Allen, I'm going to still question this team to a certain extent. I'm going to question Joe Burrow specifically. Josh Allen has an MVP. Josh Allen has 5 division championships. Josh Allen doesn't miss the playoffs. Josh Allen doesn't miss games. Lamar Jackson has 2 MVPs. He's consistently a division winner, always in the playoffs, right? Patrick Mahomes, multiple MVPs, multiple Super Bowls, multiple Super Bowl MVPs. Joe Burrow needs to bring something to the table other than, oh man, he's the Carmelo Anthony of the NFL. Because that's who Joe Burrow is starting to remind me of. Puts up big numbers on bad losing teams. Now you have the pieces around you. Can you go put up big numbers and get the wins? Carmelo Anthony was a scoring numbers machine in the NBA. Didn't have that playoff success to go with it. We'll see if Joe Burrow could do the same. 937-518-1410. Shaw, thanks for holding. You are on live, sir.
How you doing, bud?
Another day in paradise. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. For me, I can't go Super Bowl or bust because they got to make the playoffs first. And they haven't made the playoffs in 3 years. I understand what they've done defensively, but the rest of it stays the same.
But the rest of it hasn't been the problem, though.
And
I love a good let's bash the Bengals session. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying I don't think the rest of it's been a problem.
For this reason and that reason and whatever, they haven't been winning enough games. So we can chalk it up to this. We can chalk it up to that. Bottom line is they haven't been winning enough games. And I'm not willing enough to sit there and say that, oh yeah, a team that's missed the playoffs for the last three seasons is all of a sudden just Super Bowl or bust, and they haven't even played a game with this group yet. I'm not willing enough to go there. I'm just not. Now, AFC Championship, I still think it might be a little too much. I don't care. The haters can hate on me all I want. I've taken it every time I've called into this show. It's literally make the playoffs. Make the playoffs, and then whatever happens from there, we move on.
I just think if they make I want to agree with you. It's just if they make the playoffs, it's going to be because of these improvements, which to me is what's automatically going to put them in that Super Bowl or bust expectation, just because of the caliber of QB and wide receivers and offense that they have. So it's like that defense. If all of a sudden they're good enough to get to the playoffs, I think they're going to be good enough to be expected to close it out, I guess. If they didn't add Dexter Lawrence and they didn't add, key defensive pieces, and they just went another year where they're relying on the draft, I would agree with you more and say, hey, I have no expectations with this team, but this team, they can't draft and they can't develop. Well, they went and added a ton of veteran pieces to take them to that next level, all on one side of the ball. To me, I think that's what this team's been missing more than anything. And that's the thing. I don't even think the defense has to be elite. I don't even know if they have to be good. They just have to be average. And I think the pieces that they got are all better than average, which is why I think that this team is going to be pretty damn good. And if they're good enough to make the playoffs, Shaw, I think they're going to be good enough to have the expectations to go compete for a Super Bowl. Not the favorites by any means, but to go compete for one when it's all said and done. I think that, the Bills, they are the most well-rounded when you look at defense and offense, but I don't think they have an elite defense or an elite offense. The Bengals have an elite offense. The Chiefs, they don't have an elite offense or an elite defense. They're just well-rounded. The Bengals at least have that elite offense. Like the Bengals have something that no other team in the AFC has. They have an elite side of the ball. The Texans technically have an elite defense on their side. You know what I mean? But that's where I'm like, I think because of how explosive that offense is, I think it closes the gap on whatever this defense is between elite and what they actually are. I think that's really what closes the gap on this team.
I got to see who's going to be the second punch to Lawrence. You look at these great defenses right now in the NFL, it's not just one guy.
That's fair because they had Hendrickson for years, and he was
Mm-hmm.
sack leader, and it didn't really mean a whole lot. So
you were just talking about with your Browns, I think last segment,
yep,
who's going to close the deal. So typically with a defensive tackle, you're pushing the center of the pocket. Yes, that leads to more sacks, but who's the guy closing it? Who's the guy going to be closing the deal for the Bengals? The draft pick from last year that can't produce and get sacks.
Yep.
A rookie that we don't know who. Well, I mean, that's where I'm at with this, and that's the reason why I can't go Super Bowl or bust yet. Do I think the team's going to be better? Yes, I do, because I'm with you. I like the pieces, everything they did this offseason. I just think it's a year early. I think the defense is going to have to come together. There's going to be some growing pains in the beginning part of the season. You're going to feast on it, in my opinion, because I think the team's going to have the similar type of start in September that they've had. And then it's going to be Joe Burrow and the cardiac Bengals doing what they do. And is it going to be enough to make the playoffs?
You know, the
That's
other thing
just how I
too,
see this season.
I
Go ahead.
think the Dexter Lawrence deal, as good as it is, I think if they should have everything that they did. If you would have complimented Trey Hendrickson with everything you did, I think it would be easier and safer for me to go out on that limb.
Right.
And I think it sounds like, I mean, because you talked about who's the finisher. I don't think the Bengals have a finisher to what me and you are discussing here, to where you have a Dexter Lawrence, the guy that gets to him, because the Browns had a lot of guys. I mean, everyone kept saying how Mason Graham was not very good last year. That's not true at all. In fact, one of the reasons Myles Garrett went on that 13 sack in a 4-week period, they said that all started to align when Mason Graham's production started taking off, because he was actually one of the league leaders in pressures towards the last month and a half of the season. And that's coincidentally when Myles Garrett's production all of a sudden just exploded at even a higher rate last year. So they have that Mason Graham, that guy that's going to, force the quarterback one direction or the other, but no one's there to catch him. So that's going to be interesting. Jared Verse might benefit from a Mason Graham in Cincinnati and Cleveland, but who's going to benefit from Dexter Lawrence? And that's where Shamar Stewart comes in. It's going to have to be one of these guys that's going to have to step up, and maybe that's what it's going to be. Maybe that's where Dexter Lawrence makes someone else better. But if you had Trey Hendrickson with Dexter Lawrence, now it's a no-brainer. It's a Super Bowl favorite at that point.
Now you're cooking with whatever oil you like to cook with. I mean, at that point, but sitting here right now, they don't have Trey and they don't have a top-notch other defensive end. So I understand a Bengals fans perspective saying Super Bowl or bust, but take the emotion out of it. Give me a month. Give me a month and a half to see what this defense is good. Because maybe one of these guys that I already mentioned that we haven't seen step up yet, maybe one of those guys do step up, and it's going to become a banner year for them because Lawrence is in the middle. That's highly possible. I'm not saying that's not possible at all. All I'm saying is right here, sitting here right now, I don't see the guy that's going to be able to finish and get the production to help this defense out, get more guys on the ground.
That's fair.
And I still have questions secondarily. I understand they improved safety and free safety, but I still got questions. Are you going to be able to lock down enough people on the outside? So there's enough questions still for me, like Super Bowl or bust. Could we make the playoffs first? That's where I'm at with it. And that's the only reason why. But you come talk to we see a whole different defense. Guys are actually getting to the quarterback and bringing him down, because it's the old Lamar Jackson thing. It's not just getting to him, it's bringing him to the ground. And so it's the same kind of concept here for the Bengals. Lawrence is going to get there, but can we get some guy to come around the edge and get him to bring him down? If one or two of these younger guys steps up from the defensive end position and they're doing it, well, then, before Halloween, I could be singing a whole different tune on here. But sitting here right now, no, I don't see it. And I know you haven't got to it yet, but I had to touch it.
Real quick, hold on before you, because I know where you're going. Real quick, just to feed off that one more time. Myles Murphy led the team in sacks last year with 5.5. Joseph Asai had 5. BJ Hill with 4. They don't have a closer. And Trey Hendrickson, the $30 million he got paid last year to not produce or play, which is, I still think is kind of funny for the FU on the way out.
You're going to have to have Lawrence get up there with in the high 20, 30 pressures range, and you're going to need a defensive end to get up there in the teens.
All right. Well, hey,
need one.
Good for you. You got me to view something there. I'm leaning now towards you on this one, because I was agreeing with Bob Love earlier. I just thought there was too many pieces on the defense where it's going to be improved, but this team's also going to be in closer games. Again, low score. They'll still be scoring, but like it won't be the shootouts. Like, but in these, the defense needs to get the offense back on the field. You got to get to the quarterback, but who's going to get to Lamar Jackson? Who's going to? I don't give a rip if it's I don't care if it's Deshaun or if it's Sanders. Who's going to get to him? So that's going to matter when it's all said and done. All right, but I'll let you close out with the Reds to set up. Oh, it's already 4:47. Look at that. Yeah, you and
I have had our rounds and our battles this season, but I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. It stinks. And now you got Burns today. I
hope it's just a stomach illness and it pushes some of these rotations back. But again, that's not good timing, especially coming out. I know they got the win over the Braves yesterday, but you know how you put a Braves loss out of your head is just to follow back-to-back wins. And you close, avoid the sweep, get a big win tonight, and they still can, but no Elly De La Cruz and no Chase Burns. That's just a sour way to start a new series coming out of the Braves series at home.
I mean, there was 2 guys on this roster that I would pay to go see. And now one's out for the next 2 to 4 weeks. And then if I had tickets for tonight, he'd have been the whole reason I would have bought tickets for tonight. And then he's going to be out. And like you said, hopefully it's just a stomach bug and it's done. And the next time his name comes up in the rotation, he's back out there starting again. And he's the Chase Burns we know. But you never know with this type of stuff, and you never know with sickness and stuff like that. You just never know how it's going to go. But it's another gut punch for Cincinnati Reds fans, and it just stinks because, like I said, those are the 2 guys that, especially Elly being out 2 to 4 weeks for a month. So basically, we're rolling right into that. And on another hand, just bring up something kind of odd. That's be rolling in right when Green comes off the DL. So I mean, supposedly coming off the DL, but you could get it all rolling. And all the momentum rolling into August. So maybe that's a way to swing it and turn it into a positive. But right here and right now for this next month, they definitely got to survive and maintain 2 above or somewhere relatively around 500. Don't dip below it. And let's see what happens. But, yeah, it's a gut punch for Reds fans, and I'm tired of seeing it. It'd be nice to see their stars actually be able to go through a season without getting hurt.
It's not just a Reds thing. It's a Bengals thing, too. It's a Cincinnati. Hey, last thing on the way out, I saw that A.J. Brown got traded to the Patriots. Diana Rossini's sources. I don't know who her sources were, but her sources were correct on that. She nailed that. No pun intended. But,
No pun intended at all. Source says, as you will. Yeah.
I'm going to get in trouble for that one. But anyways, all right, Shaw, I'll talk to you later. Adios.
Yeah, man. Have a good one.
Didn't let you get the little Michigan chant in at the end. But, yes, this did come through big block. I mean, Adam Schefter put this out about 20 minutes ago. On one June day, the NFL saw 2 blockbuster trades that involved 3 players, 12 Pro Bowl selections, and 5 draft picks, including 2 first-round picks. How about this? The Eagles are trading A.J. Brown to the Patriots. Excuse me. Sorry. The Eagles are trading wide receiver A.J. Brown to the Patriots for a 2028 first-round pick and a 2027 fifth-round pick. That is the better of New England's 2/5. The deal that has been speculated on for weeks is now finally happening. This is why, so one of the trades that I had proposed earlier in the offseason was the A.J. Brown thing to Cleveland. Cleveland really needed a wide receiver, and I don't mean draft a wide receiver and just have a good Cleveland needed a legitimate number 1 wide receiver. And this is why when you just don't have a quarterback, it just puts you in position to not be able to make smart moves. And I thought the Browns would have been smart to say, okay, Eagles, instead of Jared Verse coming to Cleveland, it could have been A.J. Brown and multiple first, second round picks, in a package deal in that regards. But that doesn't happen. But this is not a surprise. The New England Patriots, who were in the Super Bowl last year, they get their number 1 wide receiver in A.J. Brown. That move has been speculated and rumored for months and months now, and it's a done deal. The deal has been speculated for weeks now. Finally, it's happening, according to ESPN's Adam Schefter. Brown and Patriots head coach Mike Vrabel are reuniting. Remember, A.J. Brown played for Mike Vrabel in Tennessee back before both, of course, went on their separate ways. But, another big move. Myles Garrett to the Rams and A.J. Brown out and heading to New England as far as that goes. It's 4:51. Let's keep it here. We're just going to close it out with this. Shaw just called in and talked about the gut punch over the weekend. I'm here to tell you, I'm not that down after the Braves series. I'm just not. I'm not a over-the-top homer with the Reds. I'm just realistic. I said heading into the Braves series, the Reds had a chance to make us all feel really warm and fuzzy inside heading into the month of June. And I said, but there's a good chance that we're not going to feel good about this team on Monday when we come back. And we don't feel good about this team. But I don't feel any better or worse about this team than I did on Friday, outside of the fact that, of course, I don't know what my problem is. I need a water again. It's just one of those things where, okay, I didn't expect him to beat the Braves. The Braves are not just good. They are the best team in baseball. Like, they are legitimately the best team in baseball, not even close. Now, the Dodgers will still be the favorites to win the World Series when we get closer to October and all that stuff. But right now, the Braves, there's not a team in baseball playing better baseball than the Atlanta Braves. From the hitting to the pitching, they have 100. They're plus 109 on their run differential. They have they're about to have a 10-game lead on the rest of the division. All right. And by the way, they're about to have a double-digit lead on the rest of their division, and they still have two teams in that division who are still in the playoff hunt as well. And it will not surprise me to see the Mets, who have won 4 straight. I think that the Mets, Nationals, and Phillies are all going to be in on that playoff conversation on the wild card when it's all said and done. The Mets have won 4 straight. They're hot right now. I think that all the Nationals, Phillies, Mets are all going to be double digits behind the Atlanta Braves for that division, and yet they're still going to be in the play. So the Braves are about, the gap that they've created between them and the rest of the division with 2 to potentially 3 other playoff contenders is insane. So the fact that the Reds didn't beat the Braves over the weekend, okay. I do hate that the Reds lost Elly De La Cruz. That's what I'm upset about when it's all said and done. Elly De La Cruz is going to be on the IL for the next 2 to 4 weeks. The Reds will take the field tonight without Elly De La Cruz for the first time since July 29th of 2024. It's June 1st of 26. That's insane. That was the most consecutive games played in club history. Pete Rose, he has the number 1 and number 2 game stretch for the Reds. Pete Rose played in 678 consecutive straight games. Pete Rose also, when that was snapped, played in 281 consecutive games for the Reds. Elly played in 276. Absolutely insane. So because of that, he goes to the IL for 10 days. They're going to rescan him in 2 weeks, Terry Francona said, and they'll reevaluate from there. My guess is the Reds are going to be very, very patient with Elly De La Cruz. The Reds are going to be very patient with Elly De La Cruz because, and I think the front office is going to be adamant that they be patient. For one, there's a lot of reasons, but here's the thing. The Reds, they opened up the pocketbook more than they were comfortable with this offseason, which means anyone out there that thinks that this team's going to be aggressive at the deadline, not going to happen. So the only thing that the Reds could do to dangle hope in front of the fan base and the organization to give them a jolt of excitement is to dangle out the hope of returning players. Hopefully, all right, hopefully you do get Elly De La Cruz back in the next month. You know what I mean? Like, hopefully you do get him back in the next month. Hopefully that's a possibility. Hopefully you get Emilio Pagan back sooner rather than later. Hopefully you get Graham Ashcraft back by the end of the year. But they're going to sell on you, we're going to get Hunter Green and Elly De La Cruz back all within the next month. July is a big month. Going to get Hunter Green back and Elly De La Cruz back. And if you could stay within 3 to 5 games of that wild card, that's how they're going to put, so to me, I do think that they are going to be very selective with that. And I again, that's fan speculation on my end. But I've always said the difference between me and you is we're all fans. I just have a mic in front of me. So I'm not an insider. I'm not talking to Nick Crawl. But this team knows they're not going to be aggressive at the deadline. And if they can dangle hope in front of you in July without actually doing anything other than, hey, guess who's back? Hunter Green. Here's Elly De La Cruz. Emilio Pagan, hopefully he's Emilio Pagan of last year and not what he's been this year. I don't know. But they did also announce that they have called up Edwin Arroyo. Edwin Arroyo in the lineup tonight. He'll make his professional debut coming up later on. The Elly de la Cruz results worse than expected. He'll be sidelined for a while, and that's what kind of motivated them to bring up Arroyo coming up from AAA Louisville. So we'll see what happens here later on tonight, but I'm excited to see what kind of jolt that has. 8 home runs in 34 games for Arroyo, and he's hitting at the bottom of the order. Very good defensively. I also kind of want to see where they're going to be playing him defensively. So let me look at that real quick before we close it out. Arroyo will be playing at second base, and Matt McClain will be playing at shortstop. McClain's a very good defensive shortstop, and Arroyo can play shortstop, but he's a very good defensive second baseman as well. So, again, I think we're all tired of the defensive stuff. I know a couple years ago it was, man, we would kill for a good defensive team. Now it's like, I'll take a little less defense if it means more offense. We'll see. But Blake Dunn will lead things off tonight in center field. He'll bat first. JJ Bleday, who's been on fire, in the month of May, he'll bat second in left field. Sal Stewart at third base, batting third. Eugenio Suarez coming off his 4th home run of the season last night in the Reds' win over the Braves. He'll hit in the cleanup spot, and he's the designated hitter. Lowe will get the start at first base and bat 5th. Batting 6th, and in right field is Spencer Steer. Tyler Stevenson will bat 7th behind the plate tonight. Edwin Arroyo at second base, batting 8th, and McClain at shortstop, batting 9th. Kind of wild. 2 of your middle infielders batting 8th and 9th in the lineup. But Dunn, Bleday, Stewart, 1, 2, and 3 hitters, 3, 4, and 5 hitters, Suarez, Lowe, and Steer. And then 7, 8, and 9, Stevenson, Arroyo, and McClain. Richardson on the mound tonight as Chase Burns was scratched from his start due to a undisclosed illness. So there you go. Have a great rest of your night, everybody. We'll do this again tomorrow. Until tomorrow, it's the Justin Kinner Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM.
Save big in everything when you shop at Menards. Preparing paint projects has never been easier with Zinsser Bullseye 123. It's formulated to block stains and provides excellent adhesion on glossy surfaces for all interior and exterior applications. Save big on Bullseye 123 primer and start your next painting project